saying 2011, 2012, and so on. Okay, let me just double check that we are streaming. I think I've been cut off. Might have joined again. Okay, anyway, let's get back. Twitter, what are they doing? It's the biggest takeover deal since 2016. Number 3. It's been 6 days since Musk walked into Twitter headquarters carrying a basin. Okay, is it a basin or a sink? Okay, basin perhaps in the United States, a sink. He carried it into the company, and the idea was to get a photo with him carrying the sink, and he said, so he could tweet, "Let that sink in." Okay, this is a good photo opportunity. It's a good expression. When something sinks in, it's when you process something and you have time to understand it, to accept it. So let's say, for example, if you win the lottery, it might not sink in the beginning. And right away, you don't understand that you don't need to work for the rest of your life. You are much richer than a lot of people. You are in a different kind of, now you're in a different type of class to people because you're so rich. It takes time for it to sink in. So when something happens, generally a good thing or a bad thing, doesn't matter. When it takes time to process, it's when you have it, it's like, often you'll see sports stars, very common. They win a competition, go, "Oh, how do you feel after winning the final? This is amazing for you." So, yeah, well, it hasn't really sunk in yet. So that's what that means. Great expression. There has been more change than is typical for the first week after the multi-billion acquisition, as substantially more still proposed. On to number 4. Musk's first act was to fire a slate of executives and bring in a brain trust of his pals, friends, to sketch out the future. So he's after getting rid of, to get rid of is to fire. Not only fire, but I can get rid of anything in this room, for example, that I don't want. It's a throwaway. So he got rid of the CEO, the CFO, the legal chief, and the moderation officer responsible for suspending Donald Trump. So he is cleaning out the executives. Number 5, initial reports said the executives would receive handsome golden parachutes. Good business expression here, golden parachute. It's when you fire high CEOs, high executives, and it's like, okay, I'm firing you, so you're being thrown out of the plane, but you have a golden parachute, and that is essentially a lot of money. So you're getting sacked, as we hear. The sackings were allegedly a surprise. That is, to be fired, to be sacked. It's the same. They're synonyms. And he's getting rid of those people. Number 6, his second act, equally symbolic, was to order a change to the front page of the site. So instead of having a sign up page, you have explore. So you do not need to open an account. The real point of that change was Musk imprinting his authority. No review, no focus group, no multi-week debates between executives. Okay, number 8. Looking to the future, this side of the Musk takeover gives me cause for hope. Twitter, platform and company, has stagnated for a decade. Water is moving, and when it stagnates, it stops. So Twitter stagnated. With leadership that doesn't use the site, doesn't understand people who do, and doesn't have a vision, doesn't have a clue. Okay, so this journalist believes that the former executives didn't even use the website and have no idea. A leader with a firm idea of what Twitter is, who can free the company from short-term revenue-seeking behavior and focus on bringing out its best aspects, could rejuvenate the service and help it to survive and thrive in the niche it has carved out for itself. So it basically needs what we say a makeover. Some of those things will be, one of the interesting things is before, to get this check or tick, we saw this in a video. In the United States, they say a check, and we'll say a tick, is to have this beside your profile is meant that you were the real person, you were a famous person. I think you could pay for it before. It was quite cheap. I'm not exactly sure, but it was a bit of a status symbol, like, yes, I am important, I am the real person. Now, one of the things that looks like it will be implemented is that you will be able to buy the verification. That looks like it's going to be a subscription of around $20 a month, or one annual subscription for perhaps less. What do you think? What do you think? Do you have an opinion? Do you care? Would you buy it? A poll, a vote by somebody on Twitter said that most people wouldn't buy it, but of course nobody wants to pay for anything, but they probably will. Okay, there's lots and lots of different things here. 25% of staff will be laid off. So look, already we have fired, sacked, and laid off. Essentially the same thing. 3 synonyms: to be sacked, to be fired, to be laid off. Here we see it. Layoffs. Redundancies. And although he is specifically trying to cut jobs before 1st of November, but he's doing it quickly. Okay, lots of people already have been laid off. But it looks like the author says he's doing it very quickly. Here we have the blue ticks. Okay, so this article is quite good. We see the price that it's going to be. Lots of things happening in Twitter at the moment. Do you guys think it's exciting times? What do you think of the idea of controversial people being allowed to use the platform again? He has gotten rid of the moderators from before. Should a person, one person, be in charge of such an important platform? And perhaps it will generate new platforms, new competition. I was looking yesterday at the alternatives. Let me see if I still have that page open so I can tell you the alternatives to Twitter. If I can quickly find it. No, I got rid of it. So there's another way I can say I closed it on my phone, is I got rid of the page. I was looking at something for the alternatives to Twitter, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look at it now, and we're going to find it. So let's quickly look. Alternatives to Twitter. And what apps, if you leave Twitter, 10 best. Okay, here we go. 10 best Twitter alternatives where free speech is respected. And 1 is Mastodon. 2 is Reddit. 3, Care2. What is this, Care2? If you are tired of all the negativity on Twitter, then Care2 is the place for you. On this social media platform, millions of people join together to make an actual real-world difference. Care2 is filled with stories of success from big to small, where people interact and help each other to make a world a better place. Okay. Number 4 is Elo. If you join Twitter to display your artistic abilities but ended up among an alien crowd, Then it is time to switch to an alternative social media network. Elo describes itself as a global community of artists, built by artists and for them. Let me go back to explain what Mastodon is. Mastodon is a decentralized alternative to Twitter. It's better than Twitter in many ways. The entire social media network consists of different servers located around the world, each of them hosting an instance that caters to a particular audience. Okay, that's Mastodon. Reddit. I've heard of Reddit. I don't use it very much, but it is hugely popular. If you have a deep interest in something, you can find a group, or in this case, a subreddit on Reddit. The website is synonymous with good and fresh content on the internet. Being on Reddit has the advantage of staying up to date with the latest news and all the trending events. Okay, we have a few more. Minds. Minds looks like just an app on a phone here. Minds is yet another app that prides itself on promoting internet freedom. Thus is like saying so or therefore, thus making it to the list of Twitter alternatives. Likewise, which means at the same time, the app is mostly for social media influencers and content creators. You can easily redirect other users to your website or other social media accounts. Okay, that is Minds. Looks quite nice. The Dots. These are dots. The Dots is another social media network that caters to the world of artists and creatives. Creatives is a name given to creative people, artists, maybe people in film, designers. There is an umbrella term, creatives. Dots doubles up, which means is also, as a professional network building site similar to LinkedIn. The only difference is that here you can display your own form of art for any potential employee or general public to see. So this is an alternative to LinkedIn. Plurk. Strange name. To plurk means to chronicle the events of your interesting life, and the website allows you to do just that without the unearthly harassment that you would face on Twitter. Plurk is a fully fledged social media network that is a kind of mixture of Facebook, Reddit, and Twitter. Okay, interesting. Never heard of it. I've heard of the next one, Tumblr. The microblogging website Tumblr has always been one of the favorite websites for several creative artists and free thinkers. Tumblr is a place where people are not afraid to express themselves. You can follow your interesting topics and become friends with a similar taste. Become friends. That's badly put. Quite easy. Okay, you can find similar people. Soup.io is number 9. It's a microblogging site that delivers on the promise of offering a safe platform for all users. Just like Tumblr, Soup.io also has a safe mode that disables all the explicit and sensitive content on the platform. WT Social is the final one. Created by the founders of Wikipedia, WT Social is a social media platform born out of frustration towards mainstream social media platforms. Jimmy Wales launched the platform as an alternative to Twitter and Facebook. So there you have it. You have 10 alternatives there. If you are not happy with Elon Musk taking over and having, well, basically Elon Musk now is going to be the main person on Twitter, and all the power is in the hands of one person. I don't know how you guys feel about this. I think a lot of people don't think about it. They think it's okay, but just one person. I'm not sure. Anyway, lots of different platforms for you to go on if you're interested in that type of thing. Now, what I wanted to do was jump over, and I want to look at something light, and that is some fruit idioms. Okay, but before I do that, coffee time. Very necessary. We're going to look at some fruit idioms now. Let's jump over. The other day we were looking at animal idioms. Might seem kind of light-hearted, easygoing, but all of these idioms are in fact used. So let's have a look at a few of them, and see if you guys will be able to use one or two today. Starting from left to right, a bite at the cherry. A bite at the cherry means a good opportunity that isn't available to everyone. So perhaps you have the opportunity, if your manager is sick or your manager leaves, and in this period of time they ask you to do the manager's job or the project manager's job, or you are being given a bite at the cherry. You're being given an opportunity, so you should take it, and then if you do a good job, you'll be noticed. They think, okay, this person can do the job. So this is to be given an opportunity that isn't always available. A bite at the cherry. Next is a plum job. Now, a cherry is cereza, I believe, and plum is ciruela. You can tell by the pictures anyway, so that's useful. We don't need the translation. A plum job, an easy and pleasant job that also pays well. Are you in a plum job? Do you have a plum job? I feel I have a plum job, to be honest. I enjoy what I do. I feel I'm well paid for it, and I'm happy. I'm at home. I enjoy talking to you guys, giving consult. For me, it's a plum job. Generally, it might be very well paid and so on. But if you can imagine a plum job, perhaps some of these people, I often think about people who have been sports stars. They have a lot of money now, and now they work on TV. They comment on what they like. They comment about like football and that kind of thing. Get a lot of money. It's a plum job, you know. Just go, be on TV, enjoy yourself, you know. But anything that you can think of that perhaps gives you get to eat in fancy restaurants, you get to go on lovely trips. Some people, perhaps, like the royal family in Spain, it's kind of a plum job. You get to visit around the world. But at the same time, it's a lot. Well, it's a lot of responsibility as well. They are always in the news, but it's kind of what I'm thinking. Apples and oranges is the next one. Of two different classes, not comparable. Right, okay, so the best way I can explain this is when you are talking, when you are having an argument or a debate, or you're talking about something and say, no, that's apples and oranges. That means that's completely unrelated. You're talking about two completely different things. They are not related. That's apples and oranges. Okay. As red as a cherry. Very red. Okay. Probably when you get embarrassed and your face goes red, you could say, you know, Laura, when she went, normally we say this, or se puso. We say she went red as a cherry. So when you want to say somebody was embarrassed and they go red in the face because of embarrassment, you could say he was red as a cherry. She was red as a cherry. Next, cool as a cucumber. Calm and composed even in difficult situations. If we talk about a presentation, when you're doing sales, for example, you have a client, you have a customer, they're asking you difficult questions, and there are two of you and your colleague, she does great. Later you could say, wow, you were just really cool as a cucumber in that situation. You answered all their questions. You were You were calm, you were relaxed, you were not stressed, you were cool as a cucumber. In general or in a particular situation. Next, go bananas. Somebody goes crazy. The boss or somebody, because of something, to go crazy is to become irrational or crazy. Go crazy. Go bananas. Commonly used. You will hear it. The next one is quite good for business. We're on the left over here, which is go pear-shaped. Go pear-shaped. To fail or go wrong. This has happened to everybody in business, or it depends on what you're doing. But when things go wrong, they go pear-shaped. It's an irregular shape, and it's very common anyway. I know it's common in the UK. It's very often. It's used very often. So when things go wrong, they go pear-shaped. Use it. It is, if you are dealing with companies in the UK, if you're dealing with UK, I think it's used also in the United States. I'm not entirely sure, but it's a good one. It's a good one, and you should remember it. The next one is more the apple of your eye. Family characteristics are usually inherited. I'm not sure if I agree with this. The apple of your eye. Family characteristics are usually inherited. Okay, I might skip this one because for me the apple of your eye was like the favorite of the family or something like this. Not really related to business, but I'm not clear on the meaning here. If this is correct, it's not the way I've been using it and not the way I've heard people using it, which is just generally very, very loved person in your family. Like his daughter was the apple of his eye. He loved his daughter. She was the favorite or something like this. Anyway, not really related to business. We don't need to worry. Peaches and cream, a situation, process. Process, etc. that has no trouble or problems. Peaches and cream. Okay, so everything is peaches and cream. Also, you hear, yes, peaches and cream. Okay, if you want to describe something that's going really well, peaches and cream. It's kind of like traditional dessert where you would have cream tinned from a tin and peaches from a tin, obviously, in the UK. Only getting fresh fruit and vegetables from abroad. It's quite new, to be honest. We are growing up quite used to getting things at lower quality in tins. Nowadays you get everything at a high quality, but this was a popular dessert and it was nice when you're a child. Peaches and cream. Okay, everything's going great. Good expression. Okay, so they are the fruit idioms. Let's quickly go through. A bite at the cherry, a plum job, apples and oranges, totally different. Red as a cherry when you're embarrassed. Cool as a cucumber when you don't get stressed. Go bananas, go crazy. Pear-shaped when things go wrong. The apple of your eye. The favorite person in my peaches and cream. Everything is great. Another one for peaches and cream is everything is gravy. Gravy is this one sauce that is famous in the UK for when you put on your food. It's kind of like a brown sauce. Kind of like it's made from granules. You know this Nescafe that you buy in a jar, and it's this granules, and you put water and then you stir, it becomes like a liquid. That's what gravy is. It's actually very, very famous in the UK. Very famous. It's like the one sauce we have. Okay, I want to move over now to presentation, vocabulary, pronunciation. Let's go. We're going to get lots done today, it seems. Yes. Presentations, vocabulary. Okay, audience rapport. A French word. Relationship of presenter with audience, especially when good. When you're doing a presentation, you want to create a rapport. You want to create a vibe, a relationship. Have you got any tips on developing audience rapport when making a presentation? What do you do to create a good rapport between you and the audience when you're doing a presentation? How do you do it? Let me know. Okay, so the rapport is no T at the end. It's not pronounced. Next is body language. I think we know what body language is. Body movements, facial expressions, and other non-verbal signs of a person's feelings and attitudes. I could tell from his body language that he was nervous and self-conscious. Self-conscious is when you're aware of how you behave. Finally, remember, related to presentations. Finally, typical word used to signal the last of several points or subjects. Finally, let's end with a quick recap of the main points. Try and remember this for today. For example, if you have a presentation, okay, finally, let's end with a quick recap. So we're going to repeat what we looked at. Recap of the main points. Flip chart. It's a pad of paper sheets on a stand for presenting information. It's more when you're just maybe brainstorming ideas and you have this pad, you use the marker, rotulador, the marker, and you write and you flip to the next page. It's a flip chart. Let's go. For example, we know handout. Okay, handout is something that you give to people in the room in the presentation. Here it says anything, report, sample, handed or given to people. So handouts are I have these pieces of paper. They're all the same. When I give them to people, this paper is called a handout. It's what I'm going to give to the people in the room, and it has the information, and it's called a handout. It is paper, but it's called a handout. And the verb, the noun is a handout, and the verb is to hand out the handouts. So, yeah, English, what can you do? Okay, in conclusion, at the end, ladies and gentlemen, polite phrase. Okay, why not, ladies and gentlemen? It's still nice. I don't see a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving tonight's speaker a warm round of applause. It's a common expression. So when we say, can we have a clap for this person? We don't say, can we have a clap? We say, can we have a round of applause? So this is applaud, same in your language, and a round of applause. So can we have a round of applause, please, for our tonight's speaker? Marker, as I said, rotulador, microphone, OHT, overhead transparency. I don't think we need this. You guys probably remember, or some of you do, depending on your generation, we had the overhead projector. We put the plastic on and then it projects onto a wall and you move it. Not so commonly used now, but still used. This is the overhead transparency. That was the paper. And the overhead projector was before computers were used. When I was in school, we used overhead projectors. The pointer is the laser that you are using. PowerPoint, you know, screen, pantalla. Signal, to use a gesture or sign to communicate something, such as where one is in a. How can I signal to the audience that the presentation is coming to an end? To use a gesture or sign to communicate something. Okay, yeah. So maybe how can I signal to the audience that the presentation has come to an end? Maybe you'll go clap your hands like this. Okay, I don't know. Signal is a gesture. Slide is when we go from one page. Often when we had the overhead projectors before, we had individual slides. Some of you will remember. And now we use it for PowerPoint, and we'll say the next page we can often say slide. This is the beginning of a presentation. You can say, okay, so to start with, or first, we will look at moving on to, turning now to. So to start with, let's put ourselves in the shoes of a customer and imagine the features we'd want the most. To put yourself in the position of a client or a customer is to put yourself in the shoes of that person. Turning now to, this is when we move on. It's when we signal a change from one subject to another topic. Turning now to after sales service, how would we want to be supported as customers? Visual aids, things that one can show the audience in a presentation, films, maps, charts. These are visual aids. So if you're talking and you have words, but then you want to show them a picture so they can understand, like a graph of sales graph. Good visual aids are especially important in technical data-based presentations, right? And the whiteboard, large flat, it's the pizarra. And the other one is the blackboard. Whiteboard, blackboard. Blackboard when we were younger, whiteboard nowadays with the marker. And tiza is chalk. Chalk. C-H-A-L-K. Right. We have covered what happened yesterday. We have covered the fruit idioms. We have covered presentation vocabulary. We're going to quickly just say it again. Audience rapport, body language, finally, flip chart, for example, handout, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, marker, microphone, OHT, overhead transparency, overhead projector, pointer, PowerPoint, screen, signal, slide, to start with, turning now to visual aids and whiteboard. Right, so what else can we look at? We looked at Elon Musk's takeover, and we looked at the alternatives, and I finally want to just look at what happened while we were sleeping. Any news? This is the Danish Prime Minister, I believe. Let's have a look. And then we will wrap it up. We will finish. Okay. So as well. Oh, yeah. And we looked at the fruit idioms. Okay. So while we were sleeping, what happened? Legislative in Denmark, the outgoing left imposes itself in a snatch election. The left-wing bloc led by Social Democrat Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen won a one-seat majority in the legislative elections in Denmark. Okay, so the left wing have won the elections in Denmark, reported by the Financial Times. She has a very weak majority, so she will need to look for help from someone else. The typical situation where in politics you want to do something, but now you need help from someone else. And we have this expression, very common here in Spain, because generally one of the main parties needs help from another party, and it's like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Like the way, for example, monkeys do. They help each other by scratching their back, and then the other person scratches. So you do me a favor, I'll do you a favor. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Politics. Morning coffee with me, James O Reilly. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30 to 9:30. And we're just looking then at the end here. We're coming up to the end. We're looking at what happened while we were asleep. North Korea again firing missiles near South Korea. It's all getting intolerable. It's getting difficult. The people in South Korea are running into shelters and basements. Not really sure what's going on there. It's quite typical situation of North Korea. And then South Korea says, what you're doing is wrong, blah, blah, blah. continuous situation in North Korea and South Korea. Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro comes out of silence and authorizes the transition of Lula. He has admitted defeat. He has said, I will respect the Constitution. I always have respected the Constitution. This is great news because Brazil is a very large country, very divided country between right and left, and there were some people blocking the roads, supporting the outgoing president, Bolsonaro. This could have turned into a very, very messy situation, but luckily he has conceded defeat. The United States, this is an interesting story where the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, her husband was attacked at his home by someone, and this man, David DePape, I don't know if it's David, well, David in English, David in Spanish, he intended to take Mrs., and we can see here Mrs. MRS, which means you're married, Mrs. Pelosi, hostage. He was going to take her, and then he was going to attack her. But he has said in court he has said pleaded to say I'm not guilty. So this will go on to trial or something like this. Quite a scary situation when you are in public office. You are a target of people. And finally, the Supreme Court suspends the transfer of Donald Trump's tax returns. So this is a situation where they wanted Donald Trump to give information, and he went to court to try and hide and suspend to stop giving certain information. This is from Politico. It's a minor victory for the former president, and he's been trying to keep this information confidential for years. Just because somebody wants to keep something confidential, does it mean that they are guilty? I mean, personally, when I see Donald Trump, it kind of looks like he's guilty, but he's managed to keep this confidential. Trump, both as head of state and as a presidential candidate, has defied the decades-old norm of public release. Okay, so he doesn't want to release his tax information. Often people will release it. He doesn't want to do it. Some people say, well, you must be guilty. You must be hiding fraud. He probably just doesn't want to do it. I don't know. He's always in the news. The question is, will he be allowed back onto Twitter now? Because he has been suspended for the last while. And will be interesting to see if he gets back onto Twitter. Okay then. So that was Morning Coffee with me, James O'Reilly, in association with Elica Formacion. Hope you guys have a good Wednesday. There's not far to go for the rest of the week. We're on Wednesday now. And I will catch up with you on Friday. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Have a great Wednesday, and I'll see you guys on Friday. All the best.